Hey, this week we got a wicked coup. I can't even do. I was trying to do like a Brooklyn accent. I can't. It was terrible. Your face right now looking at me. I like this energy that you're bringing in.
I feel like I've been kicked in the brain.
We got a wicked cool throwback indie trauma crazy thing.
Yeah. I feel like you just kicked all of the everything out of my head.
Here's what this is. It's a Franken cold open.
I see.
Yep. We're cobbling it together.
Yes.
As we go.
Yes. Okay. So, yeah.
Yeah. From bits that we've killed in just a couple of seconds we've started talking.
Well, I'll finish picking up my brain matter once we get stopped on this.
The face you gave me was priceless, though. I wish this was a visual medium.
Oh, well, thank goodness it isn't.
The absolute shock and horror.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
All right.
Stuff.
Folks, we do have a fun movie. We had a lot to talk about on this particular one.
Yeah, we did.
On the face of it, one wouldn't think this would be an opportune choice, for our given, base topic this year,
Sure.
But it's a female lead and some cool things happen.
Yes.
I mean, it is.
Oh, yeah. You saw the look that I.
Yeah. I mean, it's her film. We talk about that, even though she's absent, and there's we'll just call him Captain Monologue, it's chewing up the scenery. But anyway.
It's great stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. I do want to say, so in between recording and then doing this opening, we did find out that we lost Gilbert Godfrey.
Yeah.
Another loss. I know he's a love him or hate him kind of guy, right? Some people just despise him and can't hear the voice, can't see the face. And other people just love and adore, and I've not met anyone who's just like, I'm ambivalent.
I love listening to him yell about stuff.
He was awesome in his heyday. I mean, and he kept going. I mean, Zazu and just more stuff. He's voiced a lot of stuff.
He wasn't Zazu.
I thought in the second. No, he wasn't.
No, he was Iago.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, Iago. Sorry. I just saw a clip.
John Oliver was Zazu.
No. I just saw a clip of the guy who did Winnie the Pooh.
Oh.
And all the different things. They just kept like showing clips, and he would do the voice of him as he was like in an interview. They did like 20 things I didn't even know. I didn't want to get into it. Separate thing. But wow. So that was just like fresh in my head. So I got it mixed up a little bit. But anyway, another loss.
Yeah.
I do want to take this opportunity because, we're still pushing to get back to weekly, and it may happen, but if it doesn't, I don't want it to take too long. Folks, if you're listening, you need to get on Netflix and you need to start watching Startup. Why are you making that face?
Wait, by the time this comes out, isn't it going to be gone?
No.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Phew.
No, this is the next one. It should be out in a week, so there will still be time. But yeah, it's going to leave May 3rd. And long story short, it was on Crackle, and they did 2 seasons, and then 3rd season Sony stepped in, and because of that, they were able to blah 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 blah. Ended up on Netflix.
We've been enjoying the heck out of it.
Excellent. And I remember hearing about it, listening to Mark Maron's podcast, talking to Mira Sorvino. And, folks, if you don't like Mark Maron or anything, I still recommend you look up his podcast and look up that episode, because Mira Sorvino is like the poster example of the Harvey Weinstein debacle. Basically fucked her out of 30 years of a career, 30 fucking years, right?
Yeah.
I know at least half of our listeners can't even comprehend that because they haven't fucking hit 30 yet. Can you imagine? So anyway, she's back in the 3rd season. She plays a character right, is killing it. And it's exciting on that front. It's also pretty good.
Yeah, is.
If not frustrating at points, but not because it's bad, just because, it's pretty good character stuff that makes you go, what the fuck?
It's a lot of good drama.
Yeah. So anyway, check that out. And, let's use this moment to jump into that and celebrate the return of she was a wonderful actress and she still is.
Yeah.
And a 30-year forced absence from Hollywood because of that pig fucker Weinstein. That's like the killer story for 2022. Women coming back from this fucking abyss that they've been thrown into. This movie is not that. It's coming up.
Yeah.
It is not. But it is fun. And, it's from the heyday of just silly ass films.
I mean, it's a 1990 Troma film. What
is.
else?
Yep.
You got to know what it is when you walk into it.
Yep. And a spoiler, in the episode, we do agree that it's like the Citizen Kane of Troma. This is like it.
For sure.
Yep. Toxie and all that shit's great. Cult status, all that. But oh my, what's coming is the masterpiece.
Agree to disagree about Toxie, but that's okay. We can move forward.
Well, I mean, no, he has his thing. It's huge cult. They have conventions and stuff, and that's a big thing. This is slightly less known as one of those accomplishments.
Well, I'd never heard of it.
Right. So, yeah. Why don't we dive into this bad boy?
Okay.
No accent?
How could you do it? And then I could.
I don't know how okay sounds in a Jersey accent.
Okay.
I think it's just okay. Okay.
No.
No.
That's not it.
See, I don't know. All right. Let's quit while we're ahead.
Hilton's going to listen to this and he's going to be like, these fucking Midwesterners.
Morons.
Well, sorry, Hilton.
On that note.
All right.
Shall we?
Yeah.
Hey, B-Siders. Welcome to another episode of Bravo for the B-Side. This is Jim.
And this is Danny. Ooh, that was very radio-y.
Radio-y? Everyone says I have this like radio voice.
Welcome to Bravo for the B-Side.
Well,
Bravo.
We could do like Masterpiece Theater.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome
yeah.
to Bravo for the B-Side. That's terrible. Anyway, we got a fun movie.
We do.
I can't wait for this one.
Can I tell you something?
Tell me something.
Ever since you decided we would cover this film, I was apprehensive.
Yes, you were. And I was very honest when I said, it's stupid.
Yeah. It is. It is stupid.
I did not play this up at all.
No.
To be anything fantastic, which probably fed into your apprehension.
You were very excited about it.
Yes.
Which also fed into my apprehension a bit. Because I have learned over many years of doing this with you that the more excited you are about a film that you have seen, which I have not seen, the dumber the film is going to be.
Whoa. Dark Star was a fucking masterpiece of student film.
And dumb.
What?
Dumb. But I liked it.
I'm just going to let there be silence on my end.
I liked it anyway.
You did enjoy it.
Yeah.
And you did come out saying, well, I liked it more than I thought I would.
Yes. You good?
I'm good. It's just so funny. Uh-oh.
We're recording still.
Yeah, I know, but I gotta fix. Nothing like on-air technical things. Okay.
Don't worry. We can wait.
Well, we're going to wait.
Oh my God.
I just got to move my, there we go.
So what have we been doing?
Wow. Let's see. What have we been doing? Nothing writing related.
Nope.
We still haven't been able to crack that egg.
I know.
We do have it's not really an interview at this point. I'll just let it out. Our next episode is going to be with Hilton Ruiz. At this point, they're not interviews. It's just a talk. We're just going to have a chat.
Yeah. I like that. First person to return for the third time to the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have an agenda and, you know, you have to, otherwise why have a podcast? But it's going to be a lot of fun, folks. So make sure you nail that in. Also, this May, and I'm just saying this, so when you hear this episode, we may be going back to weekly.
Potentially.
We're
almost out of the weeds with this stuff.
Yeah. Right. And, it's just, you know, I think we could, but I also want to get like BF McGillicuddy strung up again. And I want to get like a whole fistful of episodes done because that is so time consuming. If I can get ahead of it, I won't feel so bad.
Falling behind again.
Yeah. You know, but it's just one of those things, you know, before we get into this, I mean, this is a good thing to talk about is we've talked about it before. We talked about it with Jennifer Hill. You and I have talked about this numerous times on the air, and we've talked about it with other people. You know, a lot of times the shit you want to do has to take a permanent backseat for a long period of time.
Right. An indefinite backseat.
Right. Now, this was a combination of work related.
Right.
But, you know, we've put stuff off like BF McGillicuddy. Was difficult because of all the studies and the stuff, but also there just comes a point in your time when, you know, family's first.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll just, you know, my daughter needs my time more than I need to do anything else.
Right.
So that's kind of it. As much as we want to do the weekly stuff, we get past all this and the intense studying and testing and studying and testing. Really just comes down to, do I need to, you know, not take up 4 hours during the week after work, right? In the evenings to edit the podcast, to edit BF McGillicuddy and do all that stuff. Or does my daughter need that time?
Right.
Right. So, I mean, that's just how it is. And that's what's put our writing off for so long.
Yeah.
You know, other things come in, but you know, it's family first. So folks, if you find yourself not doing the thing you want to do and feeling bad about it, stop.
Just do what you got to do.
Do you first, you know, and that was one of the greatest things. Like Jennifer Hill was a perfect example of there's family, there's your mental health, there's, you know, just dealing, you know, I got to get my train on a straight set of tracks.
Yeah.
And you know what? Your talent, folks, is going to be there waiting.
That's true.
It's going to be there waiting. Now, the only like con to all this is truth in the phrase. If you're not doing the work and putting in the effort, you're not going anywhere. But see, that's where you just put it aside and you're like, you know, you got to say, I got to do this. If you have kids, my kids come first. They need me right now.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to be present, you know. Yeah, so I'm not going to do any pitching. We're not going to get our stuff in front of producers. We're not going to have conversations with people about moving forward with these projects. And that means we're, if anything, you fall further away.
Sure.
Right? Because we know in this business, if it's hot and it's now, tomorrow it's cold and it's shit.
Yeah.
Right? If the bite wasn't taken after it came out of the oven, they're just going to walk away and go to another table. But you know what? You just come up with something else. Or you do what we do with some of our projects. Just keep pushing that bitch. Just keep pushing it. You know,
mm-hmm.
Right place, right time will come. And just keep doing it. So anyway, yeah, pat yourself on the back. If you haven't done a fucking thing for acting, writing, anything, pat yourself on the back. Say, you know what? I've been doing me.
Yep.
And when I'm ready, bam, gonna get into this again.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean that's kind of what we've been doing in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that we've done anything interesting. We took the girl to Mount Horeb, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
to show
Troll
her
City.
the trolls and stuff. It's a tourist town. Half of everything was closed when we got there in the early afternoon, but we had an awesome meal at a Mexican restaurant there.
Yeah.
And she enjoyed being out. We went to the local museum on how Mount Horeb came to be Mount Horeb. I mean, we live
the
here.
Driftless region.
Yeah, we live
which
in Wisconsin.
I grew up in.
Yeah.
So,
Now you know why.
Well, I did before.
Shh.
I'm sorry.
Don't disparage the museum education for our daughter.
I didn't say anything while we were there. In other news, a friend of the show, David Ryan Keith, wrapped up filming on his new action flick.
Yes.
This week. So, yeah, they wrapped up the filming portion of it. And I'm really happy for him because it's his first action movie, and that is what he's been wanting to do forever. So good on you, David.
And haven't heard anything on the one script that was taken out of his universe.
I know. I was very excited because I thought this might be that one, but I don't think it is. I think it's a different one.
Well, I'm pretty sure he has nothing at all to do with it. They and that's the other thing as a writer, you're used to your shit getting taken away, but as a filmmaker who writes his own stuff, that's got to be, it's going to be tough. Yeah. I know he spoke about having reservations of, what is this actually going to end up being? Because someone else now gets to rewrite it.
Yeah.
And then the director is going to have their say. So, but yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think there's any other things going on news-wise. We all know about the Will Smith thing. We could have a whole podcast about that, so we'll just blow past that.
I mean, I'd rather not. It's covered enough.
Yeah. So whatever side you stand on that, there it is. It's happened. Let's see. Oh, I will say this movie we're going to talk about was a bitch to find because I was so excited when I saw it on Tubi. I messaged Hilton.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you don't even have to worry about busting out your old VCR and watch that gnarly VHS tape, man. It's here for the taking.
Digitally.
Yeah. And then that was less than 2 weeks. Yeah. And then we go in to find it and it's gone.
I know.
Like, why the hate? But we did find this on Shudder. So let me say this. This is not a hit on Shudder because we don't have the Shudder service per se, the app.
Right.
We have AMC Plus,
which includes Shudder
and a bunch of other stuff in it. So that's how we did get to find it. But let me tell you, this is my bitch box for this episode. AMC Plus has to be the worst fucking app ever made. What a clunky motherfucker. It
blows so fucking hard.
Whether it's the app on the fucking phone, the iPad, whether it's through the browser, on the computer, and all this. Jesus, sweet Christ. It's awful. I wanted to go in and get some sound bites.
It's practically unusable.
Yeah. I wanted to get some sound bites because this is a funny film that we're going to get into. And I had to do it blind. Because this is frequently what happens. It doesn't matter all the fixes and shit you can do. I mean, again, folks, more than 35 years in IT, I know a fucking thing or two about how to get a fucking picture to show up in a browser, right? But AMC Plus, between it fucking crashing the website, crashing the apps, I actually had to play the movie blind with no picture, weird fucking sound that I had to straighten out and hop my way through. I found the one soundbite that I really wanted. And then I just gave up. I'm not fucking doing this anymore. I'm not blind searching this bitch. And plus, every time you move the timeline, it would crash or, anything. So Jesus Christ, AMC Plus, AMC, you have some of the hottest titles out there. You're making money hand over fucking fist. Can you please hire a fucking developer who knows what they're doing? Because I'm pretty sure this is somebody's like fourth cousin's kid 3 times removed, who got like a D- in their fucking CS course. They're like, well, let's give little Bernie a job. you know, and Bernie's there pounding out code, pouring his little heart into it, but he just sucks. He just sucks.
If you have the app, you know how much it blows.
Yeah. So anyway, I hate AMC Plus. God damn it. It infuriates me just talking about it.
Yeah.
All right. So we have this funny movie.
We do.
It's funny because it was meant to be funny.
Yes.
But it's also funny for the unintentional bits that are funny. So this is like a double hitter. Why don't you tell us what this bad boy is this week?
We're talking about Frankenhooker, a 1990 film directed by Frank Henenlotter, written by Robert Martin and Frank Henenlotter, starring James Lawrence, Joanne Ritchie, Patty Mullen, and more. It was rated R. It had a budget of 1.5 mil, which is not terrible, especially in 1990 for a
B movie.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
It is it's a trauma number, right?
Well, and that kind of says it all. But by 1990, they started to get some grift going.
Yeah,
you know. So, but even for a trauma film, anything over $1 million. Or even at $1 million is like, whew. Lloyd did some work.
Right. So I pulled some factoids from IMDb. Whether or not these are true or not, I'm not positive. But generally, you can trust IMDb for reliable information.
Yeah.
This film supposedly took 12 years to make.
Are you going to give us a log line?
Oh, yeah, I suppose. Do we need one? It's called Frankenhooker.
Come on.
Okay, here's the logline. A medical student sets out to recreate his decapitated fiancée by building her a new body made of Manhattan street prostitutes.
Tell me that did not need to be said. It begs for voice.
Does it?
Continue, please. Okay.
So this was Henenlotter's most expensive film at the time. But he still had some budgetary issues. So they used up all their allotted funds for some pyrotechnics during a scene involving a bunch of exploding hookers. And his response to that was, how the fuck am I going to film the lab scene? So he ended up calling in a favor to do some unlicensed pyrotechnics for that scene. And he remembers the guy finishing the setup and telling him, quote, "Don't worry, it's maybe safe." So that tells you a little bit about this film. They had to fight for this R rating. Because originally they could not get a rating.
Right.
It was rated, they wanted it to be rated X. Like not the filmmakers, but the MPAA. Yeah. And the filmmakers were like, no. So they had to release it unrated because they wouldn't accept the rating. And they eventually released an R-rated cut. And one of the trims they had to make to secure that R rating was to limit the number of exploding prostitutes to 6 from the uncut version's total of, wait for it, 7. Yeah, just cut out one exploding prostitute.
I just love it. So this fucking industry is so fucking stupid. Everything about it is just so stupid. Oh my God. It's maddening, but I love it.
Yeah. Going back to the rating though, Henenlotter said that the head of the MPAA ratings board called the production company and said, "Congratulations, you're the first film rated S for shit." They fought and fought and fought and fought, and then got that X rating, but they refused it and released it unrated instead.
Yeah.
Which I would have too, because I don't think this film deserves an X rating.
Well, I mean, X rating is and it varies from year to year, right? I mean, there's periods where it's all the same, but it changes yearly. You know, they come up with new ideas. So it's,
I mean,
it's actions and seconds of, it's percentage of this
right.
and that, violence, nudity, this and that and that and this. Now, you know, I like how like National Lampoon's Animal House didn't have to fight an X-ray. Maybe it did.
I don't know. Maybe
we don't.
Animal House is pretty buck wild.
It is pretty buck wild. I can only imagine the shit that had to get cut out of it.
Right.
But anyway,
X-rating makes me think that the film is like, you know, basically softcore porn.
Well, that's a double X.
Right.
Yeah. Triple X is
just an X rating makes me go, oh, it's right on that line. Right.
Yeah.
But this film, even though it is a trauma film, and most of them kind of toe that tightrope.
They rub that line like a horny grizzly on a burly tree.
Yeah. They really love that line. This film, I mean, it isn't really, there's like one bit, but otherwise it's pretty tame, strangely enough.
It is, and we can talk about this more, but it is an absolute closeout of the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll get to that when we get to the end of this. So.
All right.
Are we ready to start talking about this bad boy?
Yeah.
All right. So, folks, when we open up, we have this young scientist working with this giant brain that's about the size of a volleyball. It has a giant eye in the middle of it, and it's attached to a monitor, so he can see on the monitor what the eye is seeing.
Right.
And by monitor, let's not forget, folks, a TV screen, but those were called monitors. Everyone thinks of monitor, they think of, you know, fancy shit we got today. So, he's not getting anything from it. So he sticks a file in it and then starts tapping it with a hammer, and it starts to move. The scientist, who is Jeffrey, is interrupted by his fiance's mother, who is asking him to pass the ketchup. Pull back. He's sitting in the middle of the fucking kitchen doing his weird shit. There's a giant cookout in the backyard.
Yeah.
So outside, his fiance's mom is talking to a young woman, basically calling her fat. And this is his fiance, Elizabeth. So we can see the mother-daughter relationship right there. We find out Jeffrey is working for Jersey Electric, and he's a hobbyist when it comes to being a scientist.
Right.
And she talks about how he even did a stomach staple surgery on her.
Well, it's funny because the fiance is clearly like she's not fat, right?
No.
She's very skinny, and she's clearly wearing this like very small fat suit.
Yes.
Under her, but even with that,
yeah,
she's not fat.
No, I mean, oh man. Anyway, so again, here this tells the time,
right?
Because you're not going to find these kinds of humor jokes in today's movies because nobody has time for this bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it didn't age as well as, I'll say, the rest of this film. Shh. Say nothing. So,
okay.
Anyway, inside, Jeffrey is not having any luck with this eyeball brain. She comes in as his experiment is going up in smoke. There's a lot of bzz, bzz,
yeah,
right? A lot of smoke. Everywhere he goes and everything he does, there's a lot of smoke involved.
Mm-hmm.
I have a comment on that later. She is, however, very supportive of him.
Yeah.
She is like the sweetest, like tolerant human being ever. And then she convinces him to go outside.
So she goes outside, and it's, you know, your typical birthday backyard barbecue party. It's her dad's birthday.
Yeah.
You know, she says some stuff, and she unveils her present to him, which is an automatic lawnmower that Jeffrey helped to make. And are you okay?
Yeah. That remote control was stellar.
Oh yeah. It's a big big old chunky remote control. Basically a like 10x6 chunk of metal with some knobs on it.
It was like the very first remote control pad for a remote control plane.
Yeah.
That's what I think of it as. It's just massive. I mean, even way too big for the 90s.
Mm-hmm. So she's very proud of this present, because her dad hates mowing the lawn. So she's like, you can control this and da-da-da-da-da. And she powers it up. And we it's not hard to see what's coming, right?
Yep.
She's standing directly in front of it and it runs over her. So we see like blood splattering everywhere and screams. And we get kind of like the intro credits for the film. So next we see Jeffrey, and he doesn't look well. And he's writing out some complex plans on a paper with some musculature diagrams.
Mm-hmm.
And muttering to himself. And he goes on for quite a while. We see his fiance's headshot is at the top of the body diagram. And the really funny thing about this is it's not like just a normal picture. It's not like an everyday picture of her. It looks like he took a picture of her while she was like on the slab.
Right.
In the court, like she looks dead in the picture, which is hilarious to me.
It is not a lively picture. And that picture is like, there's 3 different like angles of that one. And he's got like 15 times in different sizes up on his wall.
Yeah.
With some actual real life.
Normal pictures.
Yeah. But yep, that's what he went with.
Yeah. So he's going on about this for a while. And then he pulls out a videotape from a copy of Grey's Anatomy. Like he's got it stashed in this book.
I love that.
And it's the news story about her death. And the report is hilarious. It's like the most insensitive news reporter that ever lived.
It really is just awful.
But the main point of the report is we learned that there wasn't a whole lot of her left after the lawnmower incident. And there are some parts missing. As
eloquently put by the chief of police, it's like a jigsaw puzzle, and we're still trying to piece it together.
Right.
Oh, man.
And the funny part is they say, like it's not tragic enough, I guess, that she died in this lawnmower accident. But they were like, what we're really concerned about is what kind of pervert goes around collecting body parts.
Yeah.
And it's like,
What? That's not even a beeline.
No.
On this.
Stop. So his mom comes in and she knows he's been watching this tape again. But she immediately is, I don't know how long it's been since his girlfriend died. They're pretty vague about how long it's been. But it doesn't seem like it's been super long.
I'm going to say a couple of weeks.
Right.
Yeah, this isn't a couple of years later.
Right. No, it's not long. It's probably not even a couple months.
Right. The grass hasn't even started to grow on the grave.
Right.
Yeah.
So she comes in and she's immediately trying to set her grieving son up with a girl at the supermarket.
God, yes.
And she also spots the brain in the fish tank, which is in there. It's in some like purple water and it's active again.
Right. And it looks actually like, I don't know, healthy.
Yeah, healthy, I guess, as far as you can infer from just a brain floating in a fish tank. So Jeffrey starts talking to his mom about how something is wrong with him. And he exposits for quite a while, pretty explicit detail about how he's going crazy, like becoming a psychopath, essentially.
Right. Can I just say what I wrote about this whole scene? Because this is what I've always thought. The one thing I love about this is that the movie does not at all rely on future events to serve as any kind of inference to what he just told us about him not knowing right for wrong. His morals are crumbling. He doesn't know what to, yeah. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, a bunch of bad shit is about to happen, and this is why. Now, observe.
He's concerned for his mental state, yes.
Yes.
And she responds to this by offering him an egg salad sandwich.
Yeah, because there's some left over in the refrigerator.
And it's probably still good. Maybe.
Although I made sure to note this because I always blow by it when I watch this, but it is mentioned that she does start to nag him in addition to dating to going back to medical school.
Right.
So and it's funny that it's just that little bit and then you never hear about it again. But Jeffrey did go to medical school.
I was kicked out 3 times.
Yeah, because it just wasn't for him.
Yeah.
He wanted to do other things that, you can't do in medical school.
Sure.
So anyway, yeah, he was booted.
So he gets her to leave finally, and then he goes outside. He goes to the trunk of his car and he has something in a bag. So he takes this bag out of the car and goes into a garage, which has been set up as a lab.
Mm-hmm.
And in the bag, he pulls out this comically gigantic spark plug.
Yes. This thing is about fucking 3.5 feet.
It's the size of a human torso. It's
hilarious.
And this setup, he's clearly been taking parts from his work at the electric company.
Yeah.
Right?
Building this lab.
I kind of like it, though. It's a very fun setup, the lab.
Oh, it is. Yeah. It screams B-movie. Just, crazy. But it also, it fits him. He's this Jersey boy.
It's also a really good, this whole movie is an homage to, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Like,
yeah.
His girlfriend's last name is Shelley. I caught that.
Yeah.
And this looks like if Frankenstein had built his lab in a teeny tiny garage. Mm-hmm. This is probably roughly what it would look like.
Not everybody can inherit a family castle.
Right. I always forget about that.
Some people have to do with a 1.5 car garage.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeffrey did. So then the camera focuses on this chest freezer. And I know we've had a discussion about this, about not on the show, but just in many things about how Midwestern,
Yeah, the second fridge or the second freezer.
Yeah, in the garage. Mm-hmm. Usually, my grandfather had one in the basement because they never had a garage.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so it's one of those big chest freezers. And it's an old one.
Yeah.
Even for when this movie was made, it was an old one. Sitting over there. So we know something's coming. So Jeffrey strolls over to it after he puts the spark plug down. And he flips it open. And inside, you would think, oh, the frozen body of his fiance is going to be in there. I loved the setup because you'd be wrong. What it is, it's full of this purple bubbling shit.
Yeah.
Right? This liquid. Well, it looks like purple water. It's not viscous or anything. He reaches in. Or at first he starts talking to it, then he reaches in, he pulls Elizabeth's head out. Okay, mystery solved.
Mm-hmm.
There's the missing body piece. One of them. And then next we see her head with a foot and a hand.
Yes.
That's all that's left of his beloved. Well, that's all he could.
A couple bits of Elizabeth.
Yeah, that's all he could, snark out of there with before the cops came and bagged it all up. Sounds so terrible. So anyway, this is all out and there's a little jibber jabber. And then next we see him having a nice formal dinner. Dining room table is all set, linen, napkins, silverware, nice china, wine glasses, everything. Sitting on the table across, and he's even dressed up.
Yes.
Right? Sitting across from him is Elizabeth's head and her other parts. through this whole thing, I love this because he like gives her wine, like opens her mouth, pours, and of course it spreads out all over the table. But then he starts to reveal his plan for her. Now, mind you, the head's not animated, folks. She's
dead.
She's as dead as a fucking rock, right? But then he starts pulling out like all these naked pictures
with her head,
with that terrible headshot of her on top of each one. Oh God. So later he puts her to bed and is still going on about his plan.
Oh, he did recite her a very bad poem that he wrote.
I deliberately skipped by that because I'm not going to read it.
I didn't read it. I just wanted you to know.
Okay. There's a bad poem. And then he's sitting there and he's talking to himself, going on, and then he gives himself a cluster headache. Right? Mm-hmm. So he pulls out a fucking drill.
Yeah. Checks
the back of his head, applies the drill, and starts drilling holes in his head. It does the trick.
I guess.
He gets back to the plan. And then he gets like a writer's block. So he starts drilling into his head some more. And then that helps him figure out he can get the needed body parts by killing hookers.
Well, he could buy body parts from women across the river.
Oh, right. Well, next thing we know, he's cruising for hookers. Mm-hmm. He's doing a terrible job. He's pretty worthless. What Elizabeth saw in him, I don't know. He's not like a horrible person, but he's just worthless. Ends up telling a couple of hookers he wants to throw a party, some kind of a beauty contest. They need to check with Zorro. Zorro is their pimp. We know this because, boom, cue the pimp strip club.
Yes.
Jeffrey's taken to the men's room, and this is fucking wild. This is it's full of people. There are people doing drugs all kinds of ways. There are people fucking all kinds of ways, and it's all happening. And then standing in the middle of it, like fucking Alexander the Great, surveying the breadth of his domain, pondering what more worlds there are to conquer, is Zorro, wearing a white muscle shirt. He is literally pimped out in gold, a walking muscle, mm-hmm. right? Chains and shit everywhere. So while he's in there, he notices that Zorro's hookers are all branded with a Z, typically on the left shoulder.
Right.
Right. And Zorro's in there just handing out crack, like he's handing out Skittles, keeping everyone happy, mm-hmm. and come back for more. And as they're setting up the price and time, Jeffrey also asks about the crack, right? Because Zorro's got this whole like fucking sandwich bag,
right,
full of like D20 size chunks. And then later we cut to Jeffrey making super crack.
Yeah, he's mad scientisting up some super crack.
Yes. He's watching something on TV and then about a hooker, and then he ends up seeing Elizabeth's face on it. He's losing his shit a bit. Gets upset, breaks out the drill again. He settles his mind by saying he's not killing anyone. The crack will kill them. His crack. So he tests it on a guinea pig and the fucking thing explodes.
Yeah.
And one of the great lines is he's looking at it and goes, Jesus Christ, this could get ugly.
Right.
So then we, move on to party night. He ends up with a room full of 9 hookers. There's a whole big thing. Don't need to get into all that. And then we enter this giant montage scene of him measuring and inspecting all of them. Boobs, butts, legs, and he is
Well, he's examining their parts to see which ones he wants.
Well, yeah, he's trying to piece together the perfect Elizabeth, right?
Yeah.
But it's just the way he goes about it and the way he acts is like a third grader who found his first stack of nudie mags and he just isn't really sure what's going on.
Right.
Right. That's how lost he really seemed.
So at the end of his time, he's got a certain amount of time he can do this. The girls are like, what's going on? You're supposed to pick now. You're out of time. He says he can't go through with it. And he starts arguing with the girls. Because he's decided at this point, I can't kill someone. I'm going to have to figure something else out. I can't do this.
Right.
So he starts arguing with the girls who are concerned they're not going to get paid. And he tosses them a bag, which has got his money in it. He's like, here, take the fucking money. And they end up finding his super crack.
Yeah, he forgot the super crack was in there too.
Right.
and this is so funny. They're all like, crack, crack, crack.
Yeah.
Anybody got a stem? Crack.
When I lived on a farm, we had a lot of cats on the farm.
Yes.
And feeding time for the cats involved us it was like 50 cats. It kept the mice away. Great.
Yeah, they were barn cats.
Yeah, cats are great for farms. We had a disc sled, the little circle sleds. We put it out on the ground and we'd pour the cat food in there. They didn't need it. They, had enough stuff. But when we did that and it made that sound, right?
Yep.
Cats would come flying from everywhere. And that's kind of what happened with this super crack.
Oh, yeah. These hookers pounced on that bag and each other like,
yeah.
Oh, my God.
They go buck wild with it. And he tries to stop them, but it's no good. They pin him down on the bed and they all start smoking the crack. Downstairs in this like hotel that they're in.
Yeah.
Zorro has gotten impatient with waiting and storms up there. And just as he is getting up there and starting to knock on the doors, one of the hookers is like, oh, I don't feel so good. And then her head blows up.
Yeah. Now, prior to that, let's just, because I don't want to give the details, but there's a nice little, this was a full section of scenes.
Yes.
Because first he's pacing and stuff, but I just wanted to say, I wrote this down so that we didn't forget to mention it. This whole hooker crack thing, there is an enormous amount of bare tits.
Yeah.
I mean, enormous.
All the boobs.
Like to the point where you start to think we've left the movie.
Right.
And it's just boobs.
We've just transitioned into.
Yeah, it's going to be boobs. This is it. This is my world now. For no reason.
Yeah.
Boobs. And I mean up close boobs, not like a hooker with her bare boobs.
Right. Just the boobs.
Yep.
It's funny because there is this bit where there's two of the hookers and they're like very excited. They're smoking and they start, like making out.
Oh, God,
and
yes.
The camera kind of like focuses in on them. And ultimately, it's not even them making out. It's just their boobs being mushed together.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
Well, and then they cut to Jeffrey. He's like, knock that off. That's not what God intended. So there's a line that also didn't survive well over time. But anyway, sorry. So yeah, Zorro's on his way.
Yeah. So yeah, one of the hookers' heads blows up and then it's just chaos. These prostitutes are exploding left and right.
And I mean exploding. This is literal pyrotechnics, folks.
Yes.
You can tell this is explosives. There's the sparks, the smoke, the flame, everything. You can actually see in like 4 of these hookers exploding. You can see the
mannequin stuffing.
Yeah, but you can see the concussion ring.
Yes.
How it ripples the air. It is hilarious. They fucking went all out for this.
It's so cheesy. Oh, man. I love it. So as Zorro is finally getting the door open, as he's hearing all this going on inside, he gets the door open just as one of the prostitutes is exploding and her head flies and beans him in the head.
It's the last hooker.
Yeah.
Yep, knocks his shit down.
And Jeff is in the middle of all this, looking at all the scattered body parts, and he's apologizing to them. He didn't mean for this to happen. As he is, and he's saying all this, his heartfelt, sincere apology as he's stuffing their parts into garbage bags.
Yeah. And
then tossing the bags over the fire escape.
Well, he tries to be real careful at first and stuff. And then he looks how far he's going to climb down all these fucking fire escape ladders. And he just starts dumping this shit over.
So next we see Jeff is welding together some parts.
Emphasize welding.
Yes.
Because he's actually got an arc welder.
Yes. And a helmet.
Yep.
Okay. So it's funny because he has separated all the body parts into neat little piles for him to choose.
Yes.
So he's got a bin of arms and a little bin of feet, and he's got a whole tray of breasts.
Yeah. It's so stupid, really ridiculous.
So as he's going through picking the ones he wants, he's looking at them and testing them out, and and then one of the feet that he picks has bunions, so he is grating them off.
He grabs a fucking giant file.
And finally, he pulls Elizabeth's head out of the freezer and puts all the extra prostitute body parts into the freezer.
Yeah, all the leftovers get dumped back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he kind of half-heartedly is I'll put you all together when I get a chance, I promise. And I'm I don't know if you've really thought this through, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to work how you think it is.
Yeah.
I do want to say.
Yes.
Jeff has been monologuing this whole film. Yeah, Jeffrey has done 90% of the dialogue.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about that at the end, but I figured there's no way of getting through this without up to this point.
Right.
99% of every spoken word, and I'm not just, off the cuff rounding it to 99. 99% of every spoken word has come from Jeffrey.
At talking to himself.
Yep.
Mostly.
To himself. A little bit with his mom, the hookers, right? But even then he was monologuing. There was very little, it's just, who's got a stem? You need to decide, Jeffrey. We got to be done in half an hour,
Right.
Those were just a few lines, but he has just been going.
And they're lengthy too.
Yes.
It's not like a sentence or two and they cut away and then they cut back.
No, they're full on monologues.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as stupid as this movie sounds, and as stupid as it is, it's stupid. It's fun. It is what it is. And we still have more to talk about because Frankenhooker hasn't hit the scene yet.
No.
But in any of these kinds of things, when you have one person doing 80%, right? Much less, it comes out to, I think, 97% of the dialogue in this film is him, right, beginning to end.
Right.
But if you had someone even doing 80% of the heavyweight lifting, right, with dialogue, that is fucking phenomenal. We've talked about people who are in movies just by themselves.
Well, I mean, the big one, I guess, from when I was growing up was Castaway, right?
Yes. Right?
Well, great movie.
And I mean, just so much, Anyway, Jeffrey has been just rolling it hard.
Yeah.
And you got to give him credit.
Yeah.
It is laudable,
Yeah.
It's great.
So, he's putting Elizabeth's head on. He does drop her head at one point.
Yeah, on the floor.
And oopsie.
Yeah.
Whoops. And then he's sewing the body up and we get this kind of classic Frankenstein opening up the ceiling for the big storm.
Yeah, the storm was prefaced early on as in 2 days, this giant electrical storm is coming.
Right.
So there you go.
So he lifts the platform up to the sky. He's got a lightning rod on it. And a few big bolts hit the table and travel down. It gets the freezer as well. Like, it's very fun. These sparks flying everywhere.
And I wrote down that everything is sparking and smoking. It's wild. And then, one thing I thought every time I see this, for an electrician, he surely does a shit job.
Oh, God.
All right. Now, you would think an electrician would know how to set some of this stuff up. And yes, we're dealing with lightning. There's going to be some stuff, but you would have the capacitors and all this stuff. All of the electrical engineering stuff that you need to handle this. But I mean, even like that whole thing with just the brain in the eyeball, or the eyeball brain.
Yeah.
Sitting at the table, right? There's not a whole lot there, but every fucking thing this guy does, bzz, bam, boom, like way worse than even, the movie Frankenstein.
I know.
When they have bzz, bzz, and just the dials and everything that mean nothing. By the time he's done, every time I watch this, I still remember that feeling like, any second this fucking place is going up. There's so much. So the smoke-filled room, just before it dies down, we do see lightning hit and bounce around the lab and land on the freezer tank.
Right.
Yeah. So in the fact that they focused on it, this is important at some point.
Yes.
So the table comes down, and as it's coming down, Elizabeth is not laying down. She's standing up.
Right.
With the sheet over her. And he pulls this off. And to me, this is like Troma's finest. Her hair is now purple.
Yep.
The different skin tone, body parts.
Yeah.
Right? Between the stitches and stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the one piece I wanted to get out here. This clip. The birth of Frankenhooker.
Yeah.
Sweet Elizabeth.
Like Elizabeth?
Yeah. And here it comes.
Want a date? Going out? Looking for some action? Need some company?
No, wait. Huh? It's Jeffrey. Jeffrey.
Got any money?
Money? No, I don't have any money.
That's when she backhands him. Gets
hard.
Gets this like, she does this weird thing with her mouth. Like the upper right goes this way, the lower left goes this way. She just Frankensteins him to the fucking ground. At that point, folks, Jeffrey is unconscious.
Yes.
But I love that. There has not been a finer introduction of a creature than that. So those are collectively all the things the hookers have been saying up until they blew up, right? Each one had different things, and we hear it all. Throughout the rest of the film, there's more.
Oh, yeah.
She does. Yeah, that's the thing. I'll come back to some stuff on that when we get over this. But anyway, after Frankenstein bitch slapping him to the floor, she clomps outside of the garage and into the street. She's on a mission.
Well, we do see behind unconscious Jeff in the freezer, there is some movement and some yelling going on.
Yeah, the chest, when she leaves, the chest starts bouncing around, and we hear screams coming from inside of it. So now Frankenhooker is on the subway.
Yes.
And of course, everyone's like, Jesus Christ. And she's doing these really comical versions of the monster. Oh my God. I gotta say, Patty Mullen did so. Let's just take a pause quick. Okay. So folks, Patty Mullen got this film because she was a centerfold in Penthouse magazine. Right. And she wanted to tip her hand to this whole, possible acting thing. Forget the magazine and shit. She was fucking fantastic in this.
Yeah.
She had like no part in the beginning really, but she gave us enough of Elizabeth in that time.
Right.
To really show that, she digs this guy. She's sweet. She's not judgmental. She knows she loves her man.
She's a delight.
Yeah. But the way she pulls off Frankenhooker, God damn, that's why I come back to this time and time and time again when I can, because she is magnificent. The facial features. And it's funny because if you look her up, you'll find, she does still go to conventions. And the biggest thing that people ask her to do is to make that twisty mouth so they can take a selfie with her. She just loves it, right? Her career didn't last much beyond this, and that was it. She's off doing stuff. But if you're gonna do one thing, this is the thing you want to do.
She does a phenomenal job. Yeah.
We'll talk more about the Tromaverse and her and stuff later. But anyway, so yeah, she's getting into the subway or she's on the subway. It's funny because she makes her way to this teenager who looks up at her and he's just like fucking starting to lose his mind because, it's this scantily clad woman and she does this real like Frankenstein-y boob bounce in front of him. And then we hear, and then we cut away to Jeffrey waking up in the garage. He realizes she ran off to be a hooker because, she's put together with hooker parts.
Right. And so she was like, want a date? And he was like, she asked me for money. Oh my God.
Yeah. And, gets in his car. You're not going back to that. Off he goes into the darkness. So after a bunch of different nonsense of her, after she comes out of the subway,
she's propositioning guys and beating them down left and right.
Looking for some company. Got a stem. She lands a John, some little old bald dude. She was reciting all of the last words from the hooker. Even some of the shit doesn't make sense because she's like, Zorro said you got 30 minutes. You got to pick one. You decided yet, Jeffrey? And all this stuff. This dude doesn't care. So they get up to this room and it's in that same hotel, the hooker hotel, Zorro's hooker hotel.
Yeah. Basically.
So they go up to a room. She strips, climbs on top of him and he's all for it. He's ready to play doctor and nurse. So starts riding him and then smoke starts to come from him in the bed and then the electricity and then bam, he fucking explodes and his head is still because she's holding on to his head.
Yeah.
So the whole body explodes and she's still holding on to it. And of course, that the severed head speaks. That was wonderful. It's corny as shit, but fun. Jeffrey's on the trail. We cut to him getting closer. Frankenhooker, who is done, leaves the room, but not for collecting money from the dead John's wallet.
Right.
Picks up his pants, pulls out the wallet. There we go. In the hall, some slime ball hits on her and like tries to steal a kiss. And then, we see his head fly out the window into a trash can.
Yep.
For a bit, she's wandering around shouting random lines. And then she wanders into Zorro's strip club.
And he is bummed about all his girls blowing up. Zorro is.
He has the face of a small businessman who's seen the end of the fall of his hard work.
Small business.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's pretty bummed and he's talking about it to this guy who's sitting next to him. So the little bit of actually Elizabeth that we see in Frankenhooker sees pretzels on the counter and she was eating them in the very first part of the movie and saying, I can't control myself. She sees them and grabs a handful and starts munching on them. And then the guy who was sitting next to Zorro listening to his, whinge story, sees her and is like, ooh, hey. So he's talking to her. And they go to this little table.
Yeah.
And as they're chatting, her like very loud repeating the hooker lines gets Zorro's attention because he heard his girls say these things.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
30 minutes, whatever it is.
Yep. Everything we've heard several times already.
Right.
But now he's hearing it.
And so he's very curious about this. So the guy who was hitting on her he goes under the table to do some stuff with her. And
like crams his head between her legs.
Yeah.
Because, he's a classy guy.
And you guessed it. He gets blown up.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Jeff has finally learned that she's in Zorro's bar. But Zorro, meanwhile, is already confronting him. He grabs her arm that's got the brand on it. Where'd you get this arm?
This isn't your arm.
Right. And, kind of Jeff walks in as this is all kind of blowing up. And suddenly her head flies backwards. I think Zorro backhanded her.
He punched her.
Okay.
Yeah.
And her head flies backwards.
But
nearly headless Nick from Harry Potter style, but like the back.
Yeah, the back is still attached, but it's hanging like a flipped lid.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. And it starts zapping everything in this fucking bar.
Oh, yeah. People are running and screaming.
Yeah.
Bedlam.
Zorro has gotten ducked and covered somewhere, and he sees Jeff go up to her and pop her head back forward and kind of lead her out of the bar.
Yep.
So he grabs a taxi to follow them. So we're back in Jeff's garage where he has secured her head more thoroughly. Yeah. And this, I think, is a real fun homage to the original Frankenstein movie.
Yes.
Because instead of just sewing it, he's got some C-clamps.
Yeah, big metal clamps.
And also the two bolts in the side.
Yep.
And he's trying to zap her back to life again. And when she comes back, she's Elizabeth.
Yeah.
She's not parroting hooker lines.
No.
She's a little confused. But she's very impressed and proud of him for bringing her back. Very impressed with his scientific prowess.
Yes. It's incredible. It's a miracle.
Yeah. And then she realizes that her parts are not hers. So she starts freaking out.
Yeah. Everything from the neck down doesn't belong. It doesn't match.
And while she is kind of scolding Jeff about this, Zorro has snuck in with his machete and just cuts Jeff's head off.
Yep.
Which is pretty sudden.
Yeah, this is fast paced. Keep going. We'll talk about this.
Zorro, immediately after killing Jeff, grabs Elizabeth and says that you're mine. I own all your bits. Mm-hmm. And you need some crack. You just need to chill.
Yeah.
Let me get you some crack.
Give me some crack. It'll settle you down.
And as she's trying to wrestle him off of her arm, the parts in the freezer tip the freezer open and it opens up and they start coming out and all these prostitute bits have fused.
These weird goofy ass mutations.
They fused into weird monsters.
Well, yeah. Well, one's like a torso that's got the boobs. So if you put it upside down, it's boobs in the bottom, no head, no arms. And then as the pelvis comes together, it actually comes up to a dome.
Yeah.
And there's a mouth that's just going.
It's a bunch of weird shit.
It's fucking nuts.
And they're not pleased with Zorro.
Nope.
So they start attacking him and they somehow stuff him into the freezer.
Yeah.
They do kill him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Elizabeth, it's hilarious because as these parts start attacking Zorro, she doesn't do anything. She just kind of quietly watches.
Yep. Well, they end up going back in the freezer with him.
Right.
But my favorite is one of the weird hands. There's a close up on the bag of crack. And one of these weird hands is shunk and takes it with into the cooler with dead Zorro.
Yeah. So Elizabeth watches all this quietly, then picks up Jeff's head and is like, I have an idea. So we kind of fade out and then we fade back in. And Elizabeth has brought Jeff back to life. And we can only see him kind of from the head up, but he's in the similar position that Elizabeth was in when he brought her back. And she's like, you took very good notes.
Yeah.
I was able to put you back together. We can be together now. But here's the trouble.
Well, the trouble is, we learned a little earlier that when he woke Elizabeth, and she's like, it's a miracle he did say, no, it's not, because my shit only works on women. It's estrogen based.
Right. His purple juice.
Yeah. We pulled back, and he's been remade with all of the leftover Hooker body parts. And he's not about it. His first thing is, where's my Johnson? And that's basically it.
The end.
Frankenhooker and Frankenjeff.
Yeah.
Jeffrey. Now, some things to talk about. Now, one of the things people might be asking, since we're doing, the Year of Women in Cinema, why Frankenhooker? Because it is a comedy. It never once pretended to be anything other than what it is, right? And it dove into it hard. Patty Mullen was absent for like the middle part, after she dies, right? So we get to the third act, which is, Frankenhooker Awakening. She just did such a stellar job.
Yeah, she really stole the show. I mean, even though Jeff is 99% of dialogue and everything.
Yeah.
As soon as she is on the scene, I'm all about her.
James Lorenz did such a perfect job carrying this, talking to yourself monologue, just crazy, wild bullshit. And with his acting and just everything he did, his actions and stuff. But when Patty, it's her movie when she comes off of that table, and with a relatively short period of time, just whipped ass.
Yeah.
Right. And it makes me sad that she doesn't have this huge thing. Now, I don't know. I love this movie because, just because there are tits in a movie doesn't mean it's trash. We watched, I don't even remember the name of it because we stopped watching it. The superhero one, Peacemaker.
Oh, yeah. We watched one episode when we were like, nah.
Yeah, it just didn't seem like I was interested. I watched Birds of Prey.
Sure.
In bed, while you were sleeping.
Yeah.
It was bad, and I didn't care to carry the story on. Right. But anyway, it really is just great. She only has her boobs out once when she's with the little bald dude. Right. So it's not about her walking around stark naked.
Right.
Through this whole thing. Like Life Force, where that poor woman got the job and then at some point was told, by the way, you're bare ass naked through the whole movie. You're a space vampire that apparently doesn't care about clothing. A couple times she jumps into other people, but yeah, she's just buck naked through the whole thing. Which was a revelatory movie for a 12-year-old Jim.
Sure.
This happens in sci-fi? What the hell?
Well, old school sci-fi was really very objectifying.
Oh, it was part of it was the era too, up until the 70s. The big, they look like iron pointy bras, right?
Yeah, the Madonna bra.
Yeah, any woman who was in front of a camera had these like missile tits through because that's just the way the bras and stuff were. And they always emphasize that with tighter clothing and the spacesuits and.
Yeah.
But that was it. They weren't, bouncing them around. And,
right. They were just torpedo boobs.
Yeah. Forbidden Planet would have been a very different movie if the one female character in there started just flitting around, all Lady Godiva. But you couldn't do that kind of stuff.
This might be
in the 50s.
Controversial point of view, but I've always found it a little bit infuriating that guys can walk around shirtless and girls can't.
Oh, I've always wondered because even in, going back to the Flash Gordon serial days.
Yeah.
Right. for a while, no more skin than, hands and shit. Half of them were like, no bare feet. Right. But then the women would be in these scantily clad, cause every female alien race or species apparently has like, partially see-through, toga top type stuff, mini skirts and thigh-high boots and just weird shit. That's okay. And then let us not forget, 1 billion BC and the fur bras and, bikinis and stuff. I have actually noticed there are people, men and women directors, who are, full Monty, right?
Right.
So if we're going to see her tits, right? We're going to see her bare naked, then this guy's going to come walking around and his Johnson's just going to be swinging. He's literally just a swinging dick on the set.
Right.
And
fair's fair, bitches.
Well, fair's fair. And I don't have a problem with any of it if it fits. We've talked about if you do it just to do it, it minimizes the production, the work.
Right.
Right. Like James Purefoy, he just doesn't fucking care. He was buck naked in Citizen Kane. He in Altered Carbon.
Yeah.
It's almost like any chance he can go pantsless, he's on it. And it's funny, and I'm not ridiculing him or getting on it.
I love James Purefoy.
I love
everything
him too.
I see him in.
Absolutely.
He is amazing.
But I can't help it. When we were watching Altered Carbon, I was thinking, so like at some point, does he sit down with the producers and the director? He's like, so guys, is there any way we could work in my Johnson?
Is there any possible way?
What if we were to just flip this around? Anyway.
And you know what? He's so fucking suave and smooth. Anyone would just be like, sure.
Yeah. I have never understood, because I've watched a lot of Grindhouse stuff, and like in the 70s and early 80s, there was a lot of, non-pornographic Grindhouse films that never the mainstream public. And this is why Grindhouse theaters were burnt down and banned. There's a lot of dick in some of those movies, horror especially. And I always wondered why, because like my grandparents were, they're Irish, but they could have been fucking as Quaker can be, right?
I believe you.
Oh God, but why are people so like upset and offended by any brand of nudity, as long as it's not expletive, right?
Right.
Like nudist colonies in MASH.
Sure.
One of the funniest things was Hawkeye always has his subscription to some volleyball thing, but it's nudist volleyball, right? And they just kind of cue on that a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. It angers me that men can go topless, women can't. And the rules are supposed to have been no sexual organs. Now, unless my biology teacher was wrong and the books we were given were wrong.
It's not out of the question. Have you seen some of those books?
Yeah, I know. But also, being the, advanced adult that I am all these years, I still, correct me if I'm wrong, I still believe that breasts are not reproductive organs.
No.
So there we go. I never understood what's the fucking problem. All right. If you don't want a dick, then quit showing a vagina. And I understand that unless you want a triple X rating, you can't have some actress lay down, spread wide, right? And say, get a close up. Because why would you even do that? Right. Anyway, I'm fully on board with if someone has to go bare ass naked, well, someone else should too. There's always the woman. So why can't there be a man? And why do women always after sex lay in bed, pull the sheets up or show their tits, but the dude is always getting out wearing boxers?
Right.
Come on. But we're seeing a change in that.
We are.
we're seeing a lot more. Well, we're seeing way more bare-assed men than we've ever seen before on TV shows, in film.
Well, it's just funny, like for a country as cavalier as we are about violence and gore and, all that other stuff, we've always been exceptionally prude about, sex.
I know. And well, like you were talking today, what is it with fucking Americans and guns? Right? Because I was out grocery shopping today, and other than the normal, fucking headache that I was having grocery shopping, I'm flowing through, and there he is, Mr. Wisconsin, Captain Open Carry, not one but two fucking pistols, like he's fucking Dillinger, ready to just like. Bah, 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 bah. I'm like, what are you so fucking afraid of? Right?
Excuse me.
Man, I can't cut that out.
Nope. It was a hiccup.
I get it. But anyway, I don't know. I don't want to get into, that's a whole separate thing.
Yeah.
I think it's fucking retarded. I got a gun. It's the only reason for open carry. I got a gun. What are you fucking afraid of? It's Woodman's grocery store, right?
Right.
If I at all ever thought something's going to go down, if it's going to go down, this is the place, right? I'd go somewhere else. Number one,
right?
I mean, what is going to happen? A fucking shootout over melons? Listen, right?
I'm really serious about my melons.
Yeah, the last fucking star fruit in the produce. That's mine.
Don't you dare try to grab those lychees.
But even with all that, right, I'm sure Big Bad Bob there would absolutely be uncomfortable if he were sitting in an IMAX theater and there was a 14-foot tall dick on the screen. And that's the thing I found with most men. It really just fucking bugs men to no end. To no end. Forget whether you're man or woman and you agree or just, you disagree with nudity completely, right? And that's fine. I get that. But my whole life, I'm like, what is wrong with you motherfuckers? It's a dick. It's not going to jump off the screen and get you.
Surprise.
Right. And if you're surprised by that, then I don't know what happened to you, but I'm pretty sure you got one. So you should be like attuned to what's happening here. Anyway, let's get back to the film.
Well, I mean, we initially started this talking about, why are we talking about this film when we're talking about women in film this year? I mean, what I think is the very end of this movie where they kind of flip the script.
Yes.
They do it, I believe, just to be like punchy and jokey.
Mm-hmm.
But I really, really liked that, like he expected her to be fine with,
what he did.
Hooker body parts.
Yeah.
But as soon as she turned the tables on him, he was not fine with it.
Yes. And that is, like I told you, that's one of the reasons I loved this movie afterwards, is because of that ending. Because now he's not a bad guy, right? He's not misogynistic. He's not like abusive, but here's the thing. His male ego. I'm going to have my woman back.
And she's going to have the perfect body.
Yeah, the perfect body. That puts him in the misogynistic camp, right? Unwittingly or not. But yeah, I love that. What's good for the goose literally is good for the gander, who is now a goose.
Right.
In a lot of these movies, I mean, she would basically, it was almost like she was refrigerated, like she was fridged, right? Her death is the driving point of the story. A lot of times that doesn't work. Sometimes it can work. For this, it was just the whole thing, right? But yeah, her having to be okay. I put you back together. I gave you this quote, perfect body. And we're going to live happily ever after because I get to play with your perfect body.
Right.
And you're alive. So I'm happy. I got everything I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really care what you want.
Exactly. And bam. How's that taste, Jeffrey?
Evidently not great.
Right. And I also, I didn't think of it like the first dozen times I saw this when I was younger. But as time went on, I thought, why is he so upset that his dick is missing? I mean, women have fully functional sex lives with one another. Right?
Right.
Where's your open-mindedness, Jeffrey?
Buddy.
Not to mention, you're in for a whole new world of experiences, friend.
Let me tell you.
Yes.
You don't got to stop at just one. There's a whole new world in front of you.
Yep.
And it's pretty great.
Oh, God. So, anyway, that's kind of why we love this movie. Patty Mullen did a fantastic job. I love it because Joanne Ritchie, folks, if you see this movie, you'll know her by her face. She is a long-standing B-movie actress, decades, right? She plays Jeffrey's mother.
Mm-hmm.
She's only in it for a little bit, but that's a memorable little bit. She is just a wonderful fucking screen presence, and I love that they got her.
Yeah.
For this. So, I mean, there's nothing that's empowering really on this movie because all hookers are like these crack fiends. They're like fucking monkeys after a banana boat kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think this movie does anything to push forward a women's movement of any kind.
No, but to me, it's a great example of how you can just have fun. And now, mind you, like I said, this is like the perfect movie to cap off the 80s. This, because when a decade ends, the 80s actually ended in 92.
Yeah.
Right? Because it takes a couple of years for it to fade out, and it takes the next decade to figure out what it's about. So usually 2 years in is when, the 90s. This is the shit we remember of. That's so 90s, right? And then 2000 hit and things like, okay, we're done with the 90s. Let's make a change. And by 2002, this is the aughts.
I mean, it's also really great to watch movies like this. Like this movie is a perfect time capsule of 1990.
Yes.
If you think about like Weird Science, which was huge.
Massively huge.
And so misogynistic.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. I remember watching that movie as a kid and I was like, ah ha ha ha. And then I watched just a little bit ago, or a little bit, I don't know, like a month or so ago, because we were talking about it. And it was just a little bit and I was like, nope, I'm good. No, thank you, Weird Science.
Well, at Anthony Michael Hall, huge sell.
Yeah.
At Kelly LeBrock, huge sell. It does that.
My printer just suddenly came to life.
It's not printing anything, is it?
No.
Okay. Yeah, they'll do that. They'll just like refresh themselves, much like R2 will just, when it's all quiet in here, he'll just lose his fucking mind for no reason, even though he's not activated. It's just all of a sudden, and then him and, BB9 will yell at each other. And it's a joy being in this room. There's a lot of stuff that just goes on. But anyway, lost my train of thought. So it's a wonderful film for the era. Oh, and we were talking about Weird Science. Kelly LeBrock. So that was the number one reason, Kelly LeBrock.
Yeah.
Anthony Michael Hall coming off of Breakfast Club and all this other stuff. Got him in there. A bunch of people showed up in that movie that went elsewhere. They were still trying to, be somebody. So they're doing all these little bit parts and side parts. It's a great movie in that respect. But yeah, one and done. Right. I think I watched it twice after the first time I saw it within a couple of years.
Yeah.
But yeah, lately I see it pop up and I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I'm okay.
It's very patronizing. It's very, it is misogynistic. It is, it objectifies because she is literally a creation.
Yeah.
And, they try to like waver it like she's actually got a fucking brain and she's way smarter than these, 2 14-year-old twats.
Yeah.
Who are trying to make her. Just a lot of stuff.
Problematic in a lot of ways.
Right. Now, so Frankenhooker, one of the things folks, for those of you who have listened to our last conversation with Hilton Ruiz
a little
while back, yeah, he had brought out, because we do it by Zoom so we can see it, and I mentioned what he was holding, but he had brought out his Frankenhooker VHS tape, and it still was in the box when they released Frankenhooker. Troma loved doing stuff like this. So the VHS case, the cardboard box it slides out of, actually had a battery in it and a little chip. And if you pushed a button, you got one day.
It's a very William Castle-esque gimmick.
Absolutely. And people fucking will turn the earth inside out to find those. And then it wasn't like a week later that Hilton went on to Twitter and he's like, look, everybody. And he absolutely loves this movie too. And we're going to talk to him a little bit about this.
Yeah.
Just, one of the, what makes it good? Let's talk about the good stuff, the lessons.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's settle in the fact that it was a 90 film coming out of the 80s. It was Troma, big budget.
Yeah. Really big.
Yeah. Toxic Avenger had fucking nowhere near this.
Good Lord.
Right. And even its later incarnations, the 2, 3, 4, 5, Citizen Toxie, all that.
Listen, Toxic Avenger doesn't need that much money. Let's be real.
No, it doesn't. And you can see that most of this was spent on those fucking powerful explosions.
Yeah.
And now by today's version, right, that would have all been done with VFX. That is all, folks.
Right.
You could recreate this entire movie without knowing anything about anything, without makeup or anything, right? You just draw a line around the middle of the forearm, put some X's over it. There's some stitches, top part color white, like pale white. And then on the other side of the stitch line,
like a brown or
a tan or something, right there. You've got two different kinds of arms put together. All the explosions and stuff, all the bzz, bzz, bzz wouldn't have ever been practical these days.
No.
Right? There are kits for Final Cut and Premiere. You can spend $50 and buy a bunch of that shit and do it yourself.
Yeah. I mean, they would force you to do it digitally just because those are an insurance nightmare.
Yes. Well, and I'm talking just like the indie makers and just like even people who like fuck around with short films. They find this stuff and they make some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So let's look at the writing. Even though Jeffrey was going on about a lot of shit, Jeffrey made sense.
He did. It was very followable.
Yes. Now he was, half out of his head.
Mm-hmm.
You get to, at first he's eccentric, but then you can see he's really just starting to lose his shit because he's just like Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Right. It is. It's stuff you can follow. It makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, quite a lot of the things you learn in this movie are from his monologuing exposition throughout the whole thing.
Right.
Talking to himself. And usually that's a no-no. Right.
Yeah.
It's show, don't tell. Right.
Right.
But similarly to like Castaway, not that I'm comparing this movie to Castaway.
Tom Hanks is going to be so pissed off at James Lorenz for upstaging him.
I think Tom Hanks would think it's hilarious. When you have a movie that is pretty much just one guy going crazy in his own head, you don't have a whole lot of other options. I think they showed as much as they could.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have to get it out there somehow. Well,
here's the thing. So, not having seen the original script, I would love to get a hold of the original script, not the shooting script.
Oh, like the spec.
Yeah, the first draft,
yeah.
Right? The concept. This is what we're going to do before it got all tidied and made it to production.
Yeah.
If you can do it well, this saved these guys a ton of money.
Oh, yeah.
You don't need to bring in other actors to have these long drawn out conversations, completely different scenes, right? New sets, new everything. Mm-hmm. And then you got to have it kind of fit into a conversation.
You have to find an excuse for why Jeffrey's going over to Daniel's house.
Exactly. Or why he's chatting up the garbage man, you know, kind of just whatever. It was brilliantly done in that respect, whether it was budgetary. They're like, oh, we got to do something, man. We can't, Jeffrey's just got to talk to himself. Right. It worked.
Yeah.
However, the writing made it believable that he's just, you know, we're watching Jeffrey, one man show this. And as a creative, you get it. How many times do we talk out loud to ourselves?
Right.
When we're doing our stuff, which is sometimes a problem.
Sometimes
when we're working together on something. And what? Huh? What'd you say? Nothing. Oh, nothing. I'm just talking to myself out loud.
Constantly. Yeah. That's a constant refrain in our house.
It's a thing. So anyway, the writing and making Elizabeth in the beginning just this sweet girl, we actually don't learn a lot about her. We just get her disposition and her character. Mm-hmm. And that he's obviously like, you know, she's my universe, which is why this all happens. When she comes out as Frankenhooker, it is just hilarious how she plays this monster.
Right.
Compiled of hooker parts with hooker personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Her reaction when she wakes up, not as Frankenhooker, but
as Elizabeth.
After the second fix. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's immediately, you're so smart. Oh, I'm so proud of you. And then, wait a minute.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
What?
And when Zorro comes in and takes his fucking head off, she was in the middle of a hissy fit.
Yeah. She was in the middle of dressing down Jeffrey for what the fuck, dude?
Yeah. You know, and I always, in my head, I always hear the rational conversation. Jeffrey, this is the type of thing that you have to acquire someone's permission before you act on your own, you know.
And even then,
you know, and that permission shall not be forthcoming.
Right.
Anyway, how it was shot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of awesome practical effects.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this movie, they make no bones about it, right? It's very campy.
Yep.
It's supposed to be very campy. They basically tell you up front without telling you, do not expect a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Don't expect finesse in our effects, right?
No.
This is how it's going to be.
And like the practical stuff, like the eyeball brain,
mm-hmm.
that was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was stupid.
Yeah.
And we don't at all get into what it is, what it was supposed to be, where it came from, or why.
Well, and the fact that it was finesse effect, you know, not finessed, you know, not finally finessed effects.
Yeah.
Played into their, I mean, this was an homage to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, right? And if you think about, I mean, before this, any movie, an adaptation of Frankenstein,
yeah,
they were all campy. They all had cheesy effects, just like all those.
Oh, think of original Wolfman.
Yeah,
Lon Chaney. You know, or Lon Chaney Jr. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know,
even if you think of the, you know, Boris Karloff as Frankenstein.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about his transformation.
Oh, sure.
It was still take a picture of him. Okay, let's put some more hair on. Take a picture of him. Let's put some more hair on. Right?
Yeah.
It's actually, see, now this is why American Werewolf in London won so much acclaim for its special effects, because as he's changing into this werewolf, they had the hair coming out. Not like, you know, stupid blotches.
Dissolving on.
Yeah. It was growing out, and
mm-hmm.
You saw his face grow, where before that didn't, you know, happen.
Right.
It was awesome. But everything before that was camping. The Mummy. I have issues with The Mummy.
There are a lot of issues with The Mummy.
I will go on record saying I don't think The Mummy should be included in the pantheon of movie monsters. I don't count The Mummy as a monster. I think
This is a discussion to unpack another.
It is. It is. I just want to put that out there.
Okay.
Right? Until the creature from the Black Lagoon, the creature gets way more recognition. Fuck the mummy. And I'll just leave it at that.
All right. That's fair.
But the effects, and not just the zaps and stuff and the makeup. Let's talk the sets, right?
Well, I was going to say, being an homage to Frankenstein, it would have been a disservice to, like, you know, overplay your hand at, you know, really smooth, you know, sexy practical effects.
Yeah.
That would have been a disservice. Right?
It would. Yeah. I agree.
Anyway.
For me, the other lesson, I think most importantly out of all this, is have fun. Make your fucking stupid, silly little comedy. Have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
All through this thing, even though, again, you know, I'll just keep calling it stupid. And it's not necessarily to be an insult. It's just to put it on that level of, you're not walking away from this movie with anything. Anything, right?
Except an hour and a half of entertainment.
Yep. And you're going to go, if you're on a date or you're with your significant other, whatever, you're going to leave the theater and you're going to go have dinner. You are not going to have metaphysical discussions, right? There's not going to be any level of transcendentalism that is going to be explored in this movie. In fact, you're probably both just going to avoid it.
Right. You're not going to be like, so what do you think? What do you think Jeffrey's diagnosis would have been? Like,
yeah. No, you're going to be like, so what else do you like to do?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, anything else, you know that you like this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So if the person you're with doesn't bail on you before you get to dinner, you're in. You're in. You guys are going to last a long, long time. Oh man. I don't know. Is there any other things you?
I mean, I think you pretty much covered it.
You know, you brought up the effects are awesome. An homage film. See, homage films can be fun and funny, and you don't have that onus of, you know, doing justice.
Right.
Right. Yeah. You know, I think the last thing is I like the turn of events at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nice to see that Elizabeth wasn't walked over and she wasn't squishy.
Right.
Right. Let's talk about it. She broke open his notebooks.
Yeah.
In a very short period of time, learned all the shit that's in his head.
Yeah.
Right. And made it work.
Yeah.
And brought him back.
Evidently it wasn't all that complicated.
And right. But it wasn't to be spiteful.
No.
Because that is the pitfall of a lot of these kinds of endings where they'll give the woman like the last laugh or the upper hand. And it's always a spiteful, vengeful, if not passive aggressive
bring him
kind
back,
of thing.
You know, with a hooker body out of spite.
Right.
She was like, well, I couldn't put, you know, Zorro's body or your body because your stuff only works on female parts.
She went into it with the same intentions of Jeffrey.
Yeah.
He's gone. Oh, but wait, if I can figure this out, because he's got all of his stuff.
Yeah, he did all this to bring me back.
I can bring him back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really like that. And that seems like a big thing for such a stupid, silly little movie like this to have.
But it is a big thing.
It is. It is. And I wish people would watch this and think on that in the end and incorporate that in their next films.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I will see this again and again and again as time permits.
Yeah.
Wherever it shows. And it's been a good long time. I mean, finding a Frankenhooker on VHS is no easy task.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't think it ever went to DVD.
Yeah.
Ever. And probably won't. But you do have to be a fan of the Tromaverse, right? I think this is Troma's like, this is their Citizen Kane.
I mean, I agree. This is the best Troma film that I've seen.
You know, it's the one I've enjoyed the most.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
I will say, if you do watch this movie and you walk away going, oh gosh, I wish that I had some metaphysical shit that I could, or philosophical things that I could bring out of this film, go to the original Mary Shelley Frankenstein and read it, because that book is full of philosophical nuggets and cans of worms to open and pick apart and think about. That's a great book.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And if you're thinking, oh, but I've seen the movie. No, sir. No, ma'am.
No, read Mary's.
This is why it's important to read books. All the great stuff is usually sourced from a book, and the book is always way better.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, there's a reason people keep trying to capture the story.
Absolutely. I think Frankenstein is the most redone classic horror than even vampires.
Yeah.
Right? Because all the vampire movies are not Dracula.
Right.
They're just coming up with different vampires that can fuck, vampires that can have babies, vampires that are, I don't know, feed on other vampires who are.
There's actually very few Dracula movies that even come close to Stoker's.
Exactly. And I think that's why.
Storyline.
Is they're like, well, how about people are into vampires. Let's just give them vampires. Fuck Dracula. Let's not talk about that.
You know what? I've read Dracula. It's okay. Here's the real funny thing. After I read Dracula, the biggest thing that I took from that novel was, damn, I've got to learn how to write shorthand. And, and I think that maybe says a lot about it.
I suppose. Yeah.
Well, what I like a lot about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is it really gets into like, what does it take, and what is the process of a person becoming a monster?
Well, I mean, that's just it. That's the whole thing. Everyone who gets it, who's read it, walks away. Well, who was the monster?
Right.
Right. I mean, the monster was labeled as this creation, this reanimated, figure of body parts.
Right. And how far do you go to justify what you're doing, for whatever purpose that you're doing it for?
Exactly. And then, they still even today have debates in literary societies.
Yeah.
How far does, what rights did this, let's talk about the inherent rights that this creature should have had, that should have been recognized by society. And if that were to happen today, and, it is a thinker.
It's a really fascinating treatise, and if you want to get that philosophy, read the source material.
And then just go on to IMDb and type in Frankenstein, and you have the next 2 years every night viewing of all the interpretations of Frankenstein. A lot of them are okay. Some are just absolute shit. Some really hit the point, though, on making you. They do a really good job on representing that struggle.
Yeah.
Right.
We covered another Frankenstein movie like a while back. I can't remember the name of it. But it was that kid in his apartment, and he was putting together. He was trying to make a body. It's in our episodes. We'll find it.
Yeah. We should know this stuff, but it's been 2.5 years almost.
No.
Can't remember everything.
I remember mostly liking it. I think there were a couple of issues, but overall it was okay.
Probably. I think it was, had good lessons.
Yeah.
To it. So anyway, Frankenhooker.
It's
worth a watch for a laugh. It's worth a watch to pick up on some cues on, how to make a movie like this. You can do it far cheaper. And, I was also going to mention, it's been a long time since I've mentioned his name, but on YouTube, folks, look up Blake Ritter. This is a guy who makes 5-minute, 10-minute short films. He has been pounding this shit out since before the pandemic, right? He even made a movie about COVID, a little short, couple months before COVID was ever known. It's hilarious. Not the short, but just the timing, He does a lot of stuff. He's a single camera guy. He just shoots shit mostly in his apartment. at one point, he has a video showing how he turned his apartment into a hospital waiting room simply by painting like a gray line across the middle of it, like they usually have, right? Hanging some shit, bam, there you go. He makes really good stuff. It's good quality, and isn't looking for like millions. I mean, most of the shit costs nothing.
Yeah,
go out there, check these people out on YouTube. Check out, just look at filmmaking, filmmaker, short films. Okay, tons of shit out there. And while you're in that browser,
wait.
Oh no, what?
Our buddy Ryan Kruger, who made Fried Berry,
oh god, yes,
is remaking the 80s cult classic Street Trash.
Yes.
And I'm very excited about it. He's tweeting a lot about some special effects tests and stuff that they're doing.
Yes.
And there's some cool looking pictures.
Yep. He's got some stuff on Instagram, like 10-second clips of these tests and stuff. I'll be reaching out to Ryan and see if we can get him on here in a less busy time.
Yeah.
For him.
A grotesque, disgusting film. That I'm very excited about.
I'm gonna take this last bit quick. www.lordsofmissworldproductions.com. Go there. It's all of our shit. Rather than talk about it, I would rather talk about Kyle Hester. Go check him out on YouTube, Kyle Hester Actor Guy. Check out the Preacher 6 stuff. We're going to be talking with Hilton next week because Hilton's going to be, he's trying to put together Zombie with a Shotgun 2. Go check out David Ryan Keith, see what he's going up. He's got Clear Focus Films on his, on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. All of our friends are doing so much stuff.
Yeah. The guys from Eric Schumacher, Marty Catola, Cliff, all these guys. Go
David Axe of Beowulf is doing stuff.
Yep. David started something last month.
Mm-hmm.
Or end of February, he was supposed to be starting. I don't know how that went just yet. Go through our list, folks. Look at the names in the interviews. Go check out these people. Anton Doiron is still...
He's still plugging away at Girl Yeti in a spaceship.
Yep, the one-man fucking production monster.
I admire him so much.
I know. I cannot wait. We are going to hail the shit out of that film, man.
I can't fucking wait to watch that movie.
I know. But anyway, check out Space Trucker Bruce just to see what it's all, he's all about. Do it. Get out there.
That still holds up as one of my favorite movies ever.
Same here. I meant what I told him and Carl. It's my favorite buddy film. It beat out Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah.
But anyway, folks, go out, find this stuff. See the people that we've talked to and see the stuff that they're doing, because everyone is really just kicking it. And whether it's an old B movie that we've covered like this, or it's something newer that these folks are doing, get in. If you can, support them. If nothing else, see their stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're not getting paid if you see it, but see it, share it, let people know, right? Because for every person that we have mentioned or is on our list of interviews and friends of the show, there are thousands of other people who aren't getting our attention. We're not the Mecca, obviously.
Well, no,
and they're getting attention
cover
elsewhere.
So many things,
right? But even with all the podcasts out there, there are still thousands and thousands and thousands of filmmakers, actors, writers, producers, all this shit who are not getting any attention because it's just so hard.
Yeah, I know.
There's so many, and there's only so much time. So do it. Let's not only make 2022 a celebration of women in film. Let's just make it a celebration of this ridiculous fucking process that we all go through to slake our burning desire to fucking make something and have it seen.
Yeah.
Right. And while we're doing that, let's put a lot of applause towards the women who have to put up with way more shit than the men, historically and even today, and still pound out this shit.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing. Which is awesome. Unless you have anything, that's my last bit of soapboxing.
We mentioned a bunch of our friends who are doing cool stuff. I just also want to give a continued shout out to our girl Tucky.
Oh yeah, Tucky, please.
Yeah.
Please see Tucky Williams stuff.
Yeah.
It's out there. The Dagger Kiss stuff. So much fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot
representing not just women in film, but, you know, LGBTQ.
Right.
So.
Well, and, you know, people not singling anyone out as saying they're not doing it, but like David Axe with Beowulf, right? You know, we talked about how he is so far holds the record for the most brilliantly introduction of a gender swapped hero,
right?
Main character, without making it about the gender swap, right? Yeah. So I'm super excited to see more of his stuff coming, and yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. So
that's all I got.
B-siders, be good. Do what you can when you can. If you can't do it, it will be there when you can get to it.
Yeah.
Right? Take care of yourself, take care of your family. Make your life worthy of remembering. And that is not by writing a Oscar-winning fucking script, right? Because while we live to create and it burns in us and we just can't not do it, like, you know, we can be forced away from it for a bit, but we can't like give it up forever.
Yeah.
That's what a creative is. I don't know. It inspired so much in my head. I just totally fucking blew out my whole train of thought.
I don't know. I think life isn't measured by the quantity of connections you make and that, you know, like the number of fans and bullshit that you have, but by the quality of the connections that you have with your friends and family and everyone around you.
Yeah. I would rather be remembered by my daughter as a dad who was there and not the dad who was the famous writer who was holed away in his fucking, you know, tower and stuff, or mom and dad, right? Where, you know, oh, they're famous and they do all this stuff. I mean, we're not, we want to be, but, yeah, you know, I want my family to remember I gave more to them than I gave to anything else. And the other stuff, the creative stuff, is for me, but I also dive into it more because I want it to come to something to benefit, you know, her, you know, well, all of us. But, you know, that's to me what makes life worth living. I hope other creatives agree and can get out of this well of self-punishment. You know, I'm not writing, I'm not practicing my acting, I'm not watching videos, I'm not taking classes. You know what? So the fuck what? You will. You just